let's look at sections inside of our app. So this scrolling list of stuff isn't too long. We could scroll through it. But if we had a list of, say, vegetables, animals, fruit, whatever it was, it would be nice if there was some way of grouping them together into sections and then providing an index on the right-hand side of our screen that allowed us to jump to those sections. If you open up your iPhone and have a look at your Contacts app, you'll notice something like this in action. All your contacts are arranged alphabetically, and you can shortcut to the appropriate letter that starts the name off. So over in Xamarin, let's go over to our view controller, and what we're going to do is remove this table initialization. We're going to have table items dot add, and we're going to add a couple of strings like an apple, and then I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to have an aardvark. Let's have a bee and a butterfly. Finally, let's have a zebra. Okay, so I have those items. Now, over in my table view source, let's change this height for row to something really ridiculously large, like 250. Right, I'm just going to hit play to see what that looks like. And I know it's going to look ridiculous, but it will all become clear why I'm doing this in a minute. So now I can scroll down between my cells and select them. Great. Okay, inside of our table view source, the first thing we have to do to create an index is to index our items that we've transported over. Because at the moment there's no way that our source knows how we should arrange them or how we should group each item. So it doesn't know that things that begin with the letter A, like apple and aardvark, should be grouped by A. We have to explicitly create that grouping. To do that, we're going to use something called a dictionary. So right at the top, inside of our class level variables, let's go ahead and create a dictionary. Dictionary, string, list, string, close off our triangular brackets, and let's call this indexed table items, not tabvel, table items. Now, what is a dictionary? A dictionary is exactly like a real-life dictionary. We have an index, which is a string, and that can be anything we like. But if you looked at a dictionary, you would have 26 indexes starting from A, going through B, C, D, and ending in Z. Then inside of each item, each key, if you will, we have all of the words in the dictionary. And this is exactly the same. So we need a little function that allows us to pull out all of these strings that we've transferred across and arrange them into sections just like a dictionary. The best place to do that is inside my table view source constructor. Let's have indexed table items is equal to a new dictionary string list of strings. So we've initialized it now. Then we're going to have what's called a for each loop. And a for each loop goes through a list or an array of variables and increments them one by one, goes through them one by one until there are no variables left, and then the loop ends. And what are we going to loop through? Well, we're going to grab variable t in items, in our table items rather. So this loop is going to go through, grab a variable called t, which represents an element from table items. Now we have to check if our dictionary contains the key of the current item we're looking at. So if indexed table items dot contains key, and what is the key? Well, the key is going to be the first letter of our string. So T naught, that is the first letter, and we have to convert it to a string and close off all of our brackets. Open our brace, and it's saying if our index table item dictionary contains this key, then what we're going to do is index table items of key T naught dot to string. This is a bit convoluted, I admit, but it's one way of doing it. Then I would like you to add the current item, which is T, to that section in the dictionary. So it's grabbing this section and then adding our word to it. Of course, we could have a case which is else, and else is if we don't already contain the key. So of course we need to add the key. Let's have index table items dot add, and you'll notice it says this takes a key and a value. Let's have the key, which is T naught dot to string, and then it wants the value, and it's asking for a list of strings, and because this key doesn't exist yet, we have to create a new list of strings, and then we can pop in our current value T into that list. Close off our brackets and close off our line. Okay, so we have our dictionary set up once that runs. We need one further variable, and this is to hold our keys. So this is going to be a string called keys, or an array called keys. And let's set it down here underneath the for each loop. Keys is equal to index table items dot keys dot to array, and want to right click to array and include the system link. Okay, so now we have our keys, and we're going to see why we need those in a little while. At the moment we have a dictionary, so inside of our class we need a few further methods that allow us to divide this whole thing up into sections. The first is override number of sections, and then we want to return the keys dot length, and this is where this keys array is starting to come in handy for us. Okay, now we need to modify the rows in section, because we're no longer using our table items, we're actually using our dictionary. So we're going to return the indexed table items. We're going to grab, first of all, the section, so keys section, and then we're going to count the number of rows in that section inside of the dictionary. Okay, we need another method, and this is the section index titles, because at the moment our app doesn't know what to display down the right hand side for the shortcut icon things. And this again is an override section index titles, and then all we have to do is return that handy keys that we created earlier. Then, of course, we come down to our get cell, and we're no longer using these table items, so we can remove everything in here. Then let's pull our data out of our indexed table items, and first we need to get the keys. We need the index path dot section of our currently selected cell. Then we need to grab the index path dot row of the current section. So this is quite a nested little section here, but what it's doing is grabbing the section that belongs to the current key that we've selected. Then once it's got that section, it's looking for the row of that section we've selected. So that's how it navigates its way through this dictionary. Then, of course, this update cell requires 2 items. So what I'll do is I'll just put in a placeholder text, something like that. It's not important. All right, save that. Let's run it inside of our app, and we should now have an index that shows us where we currently are inside of our scrolling list view. So there we have it on the right hand side, and we have our items. And if we click the items on the right hand side, or the index, it automatically scrolls to where we need to be. And that's why I made these cells really large, so we had somewhere to scroll to. Otherwise you wouldn't see anything when we clicked the index. Okay, that concludes how to make sections inside of iOS. I'll just go over what we did. We changed our list of table items. We then modified our table source to create an index dictionary inside of this for each loop. We made a set of keys that held all of those indexes from the dictionary. We checked the number of sections we required, the rows in each section. We got the index titles, and finally we changed the getCell method.